Have you ever felt extremely grateful, but also extremely venomous and angry at the same time? Because that's how I felt when I saw that Taylor's chaotic 3 a.m. surprise was going to be 7 new songs from Midnights. Now, we can't even call them bonus tracks because a bonus track is like 1 or 2 different songs, okay? I thought that Hits Different was the bonus track, which, by the way, I may or may not have listened to and decided that it's one of the best things I've ever heard in my life. I did not think that these 7 songs in my head immediately were going to be bonus tracks, and then I read Taylor's little Instagram thing that she wrote about these new songs, and I realized that they are not supposed to be bonus tracks. They're like from the vault kind of songs. They are additions to the album, revisions that were left off of it the first time. Now, it's really cool that she's kind of found ways to incorporate the re-recordings format and the fluidity and the creative freedom she's been able to harness and so successfully package with these re-recordings and bring it into the creation of her new original music. So we've kind of seen that with Evermore being like just basically a complete continuation of what we started with Folklore a couple months later, but it's exciting now because she's not doing much of a time delay. We had about 3 hours before we got straight into the additional content, and I did try and do a reaction last night, but I had spent all day editing my reaction video. My back was hurting because I was sitting in my chair too long. That's why I'm sitting in the floor today. But I was just, you know that meme where it's like me filling the room with negative energy because I don't want to be there? That's what this video was like. I've kept it in case I want to like put it up on a Patreon or something at some point for lols because it's very funny, but I would say, you know, even for me, someone who, you know, is critical and analytical, it was a little too negative, I would say. I would just venture a guess, and I was not really listening to the tune. So I tuned out maybe at like the 4th song, and I revisited the Coulda, Woulda, Shoulda song today, and let me just, we'll start this off by saying that John Mayer needs to go to jail. That man, he is wanted by Interpol for harassing a nation, the Taylor Nation, La Nación de Taylor. We have been attacked by this man. And now, you know, what was so disturbing to me about that song is that we've always known, and me and my co-host Madeline of our podcast, The Evolution of a Snake, have always discussed how we thought that like the John Mayer relationship was truly one of the most traumatizing situations for her. Dear John, need I submit more evidence? We didn't even really need this new song to tell us about that, but like she hasn't, the way she's not spoken on his name, she hasn't even written about this scenario anywhere. I think the closest she came to writing about this was with Tolerate It on Evermore. That to me really, like, obviously it's a fictional story, but it was inspired by this feeling of like total nothingness, worthlessness, of like handing yourself over to someone so totally and irrevocably and having them go, well, actually, I could care less if you're here or not, after like love bombing someone and convincing them that you want to be with them. I have listened to a couple of the other songs, and like I said, I was filling the room with negative energy. I didn't love them, and if you don't love hearing a critical perspective of Taylor Swift, I really suggest that you just cut your losses and click off this video, because a lot of the times I share my unfiltered, honest reactions. In fact, that's what all my reactions are. And, you know, if you don't like them, that's totally fine. We don't have to like the same stuff. Like, if you like it and I don't, live your life. Go eat a cookie, enjoy your day. But don't harass me, because I don't like it. I love Midnight so far. It's really grown on me so much, even though I've just done 3 listens, and on my 3rd listen, it's really kind of like jumped up in my estimations. It's an extremely complex album, by the way. Like, there's a lot to get into. And if you want to hear a really like at length, in-depth dissection of this, I will be covering this on my podcast this weekend with my co-host Madeline. We're doing our Midnightsology episode where we're going to be digging into all the songs and figuring out how this fits into Taylor's larger work, how it speaks to parts of her that we know are there but hardly ever get revealed. So I guess we can just get straight into the reaction now. I am going to go in order, I suppose. There's already a couple of these songs that I'm like, these don't add anything to the record. You know, they don't subtract necessarily, but they don't contribute. And I think that like Midnight's had such a tight, focused track list, but also I can't understand why some songs, like Hits Different, were bonus tracks when other songs, like Labyrinth, were let onto the album. But this is always the case with Taylor. We're gonna start off with The Great War, which is 4 minutes. And a lot of these songs are really long too, which is interesting to me. Yeah, it's good, it's a bop, but it really does sound like Evermore Reject. Does anybody else feel me on that? I feel like we are really covering familiar territory. This is giving Afterglow subject matter, also maybe a little bit of Long Story Short too. Interesting. Was that a necessary addition to Midnights? Did it round out my understanding of the album? Did it add something new that I didn't get from the original track list? Not really. It is not the best song in the world. I mean, it's not the worst. It's a bonus song. I mean, all of these songs are 3 a.m. songs, which to me made it seem as though they were going to be more bombastic, more intense, maybe even a little bit more confessional and honest. And we do get there, but not all of these songs. This one really is an Evermore reject, I think. And it is interesting to me that the Aaron Dessner numbers did not make it to the standard edition of the album. She was definitely going for something different here. I wonder if a Jack Antonoff Aaron Dessner collab should have made it onto the track list. I'm not 100% sure if there even is one here. I think all of these songs are Aaron Dessner songs. Let me check the next one, Bigger Than the Whole Sky. Oh, the next one is a Jack Antonoff song. And boy, do we have a lot of Jack Antonoff songs lately. I mean, we're gonna have to talk about Jack Antonoff's influence on Taylor Swift another day, because we simply do not have time today. But let's do Bigger Than the Whole Sky. I really like this title, by the way. It's giving very like childlike, naive worldview, 7 vibes, which is one of Taylor's favorite vibes to go for. Girlhood is a recurring theme throughout the universe lately. It's giving Afterglow again.
Every single thing I touch becomes sick with sadness.
Interesting, okay. Peace vibes.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Oh, that's pretty. I like the vocal. I like this. Okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
I've got a lot to pine about.
I've got a lot to live without. I love that line. Okay, what could have, would have, should have been you. Isn't that interesting? Could this be about the Demon Man? I don't know. I really like that. Okay, back to my original reaction where I was filling the room with negative energy. I don't remember connecting with that song at all. I think I didn't even listen to the whole thing. This is, I think, really pretty, and like there's a very profound sense of loss here. I have a lot to live without. I have a lot to pine about. I mean, that's like Taylor's classic life. Anytime a relationship ends or something goes wrong. The production on this is really giving Red Taylor's version from the vault. That is the vibe that I'm getting, but also like there is a kind of like warbling, bluesy, humid quality to it that does remind me of Dear John a little bit. And just because, you know, we get one perspective of it being like the worst thing that ever happened to her doesn't mean that we can't also get another perspective where she pines for and misses it. At the end of the day, these were like formative events in her life. Need I remind you that The Story of Us and Dear John, which are 2 songs about the same person, exist on the same album. And The Story of Us is basically about wanting to like drop the weapons and reconcile and just be cool with each other. So I wonder if Bigger Than the Whole Sky is like the other side of the would have, could have, should have coin. Because the would have, could have, should have coin is angry. It's outraged, it's righteous. And this song is a little bit more like there's a hole that's been left in my life in the shape of you and I don't know how to fill it. Nothing else will walk through that passage. So I like that a lot. That is an interesting, good addition to me. So The Great War, not necessary. Bigger Than the Whole Sky, adds something. So congratulations. Up next is Paris. I already know that one of the worst Taylor Swift lyrics of all time exists on this song because this is the one that I listened to and was like, no more. This is where I ended. My podcast co-host Madeline made a good point about this on our shared Instagram that we use for the podcast. She said that when you say the word Paris, you are invoking the most romantic city in the world, right? Like you're thinking like there's delusions of grandeur going on in this song. It either is gonna be very happy, like a lover kind of style song, or very desolate and sad and heartbroken because Paris is like the throbbing heart and center of the scenario. Now, is Paris invoked in a meaningful way on this song? We'll see. I don't think so, but we'll see. This is kind of Lover. I can always get into a beat. Lots of cheap wine and fake smiles on this album. Has anyone else noticed that? Oh God, that's humiliating. That's humiliating. I like this, I do like this vocal delivery. It's just the writing on this song is not good. I want to brainwash you into loving me forever. That line about the tree and metaphorical shade and just, you know, helpfully pointing out the difference between the two, that is fucking embarrassing. Sorry, that's like a Hey Kids, spelling is fun, sexy baby moment. This is where we need an editor sometimes, and I feel that Jack doesn't edit her. Jack lets her do whatever she wants, and like that's great, but sometimes we need, for example, someone like Max Martin would come in and say, we have a formula that we need to follow. So take your excellence and your genius and work it within the constraint that we have. And sometimes having limitations on your creativity actually makes you be more creative because you have to like work with the confines that you have. This is my issue sometimes with Jack, is that I feel like he just lets her ramble on and on and on. You know, he's even more guilty of that, Aaron Dessner. He really lets Taylor do whatever she wants. And like, obviously we want her to do whatever she wants, but collaboration is really important with Taylor, and some of her best works have come from working with people who know how to edit her and know how to get the best out of her. Liz Rose, for example, functioned as not a writer, but an editor basically for her. She said it multiple times, Taylor does all the writing, I just help her get the clearest, sharpest images and compile them together. And when you compare the All Too Well 10-minute version with the All Too Well final version, you can clearly see, like, yes, we love the team, we love the longer version, there's shocking juice in it, but the shorter version is the better song. It makes more sense, it's more logically cohesive, it also hits you harder because it's very direct and clear about what it wants to say. This song is not being very clear or direct about what it wants to say. I do love the lyric about wanting to brainwash someone who's loving you forever. That's very Taylor Swift and very me, so I love that. Up next is High Infidelity, and I'm pretty sure this one's about Calvin Harris, because this is the one where she's always going on about April 29th. And let me tell you, on the Evolution of a Snake podcast, in our 2016 episode that's coming up very soon, we break down literally day by day the dissolution of this relationship. And let me tell you, we uncovered some things that I guarantee you don't know. You don't know them because you didn't look hard enough, you didn't excavate the archives like we did. And we have some revelations coming up, so stay tuned for that. But this is High Fidelity in the meantime. Okay, so it's giving bleep bloop. I don't like this melody at all. Put on your records and regret me. DJ's spin records. Well, she basically cheated on Calvin. We all know this. Getaway car. And she hasn't really gotten into it yet because she took a very hard moral stance against cheating. May I point you to Girl at Home from Red. And she really painted it as the cardinal sin in her discography for a long time. So it's revealing that she's now saying that, you know, she potentially cheated too. It's a very contradictory statement. She's like daring him to ask because she wants a way out of this relationship. She wants to leave and he won't let her. Okay, so my thoughts on this song are that there's some juice in there. The April 29th thing is very interesting. That was mere days before the Met Gala, which is, you know, literally the venue of meeting Joe and also jumping in the getaway car. So there is some interesting juice and tea and perspective on this. I think it's very compelling. She's basically admitting to cheating on someone and also admitting that she like starved her lover of love in order to get out of it because this was a relationship that dragged on for too long. That's very clear. The production on this song, it's like half bleep bloop, half folk Lovermore, and that is not working for me. Like the most recent Aaron Dessner stuff, I have really not liked that much. I liked the folklore stuff, but his Evermore tunes were good. Some of them were good, but when he tries to do like a pop-ish number, I just think it's not his wheelhouse. So he like tries to make it like indie electric pop, and that is not a vibe that I like for Taylor. The melody for this is very monotonal and very boring, so it adds context to the record, but does it add quality to the record? No, which is why it's a bonus track, so it's all good. Up next is Glitch. I'm terrified this is going to be an extremely robotic bleep bloop song because those are the kind of songs I hate the most, but let's just see.
Depending on what kind of mood and situationship I'm in.
Depending on what situationship I'm in. She loves a situationship. Okay, so these are the producers that also worked on Karma, right? That's why it's got kind of like a swaggy beat and vibe to it.
It's been 2,190 days of our love blackout.
Okay, so I ran the math on that one, and 2,191 days gives us 6 years. What year was it 6 years ago, pray tell? 2016, okay? There's so much Bleachella 2016 tea on this album that we just didn't get a full picture of on Reputation because she was very focused on presenting that as, you know, a secret love story, which totally fair, brilliant execution, yada, yada, yada. But Glitch to me either sounds like in the getaway car moment where she was getting away from someone she didn't like, or it was like her reflecting on that summer of chaos. You know, this summer is the apocalypse, 2016. Her reflecting on that when she first met Joe. But either way, this is very like it really sounds like 2016 Taylor. Like if I had to put a sonic identity to the visual of Bleachella, that kind of like all over the place, hedonistic, stylistically incoherent, very iconic moment in time. I would attach this song to it, to be honest. This and I Don't Want to Live Forever. And I think this has some remnants of the Reputation, like talk singing, cadence focused, whispered, direct delivery that we got from that era. And I really like this. I'm surprised. Okay, so does Glitch add to the record? It absolutely does. And it's interesting to hear it's of high quality. So whoop, I'm putting that straight onto my playlist of the songs that deserve to be listened to. Okay, up next is Would've, Could've, Should've. And like, I'm not in a place where I'm ready to get so angry about John Mayer. But like, I'm gonna have to do it, right? Like, someone has to. I have to be the bravest soldier. I've been carrying this pitchfork for so long that the idea of raising it up once more and charging into the battlefield is like so hard. I mean, I'm gonna have to do it anyway for Speak Now Taylor's version, because I'm coming for you, John Mayer, when Dear John 10-minute version comes out. And okay, let's just listen to Would've, Could've, Should've. This song is a little disturbing. I listened to a little bit of it. I read some of the lyrics. It's harrowing. So let's just get into it. This is a Destiner production too. I think she feels very safe with him. She said that in the Folklore Long Con studio sessions, right? That she feels very like protected and swaddled in like a comforting environment when she's working with him. That's a great level of trust to develop with someone that is a creative collaborator, because you gotta trust them and feel safe. You're handing over like your deepest, darkest secrets, your thoughts. It's also very vulnerable to create. You have to be in a place of not feeling scared to share your ideas. Okay, I'm just rambling and stalling now. I'll play. Already we have eerie, scary vibes. Oh, a live guitar. Fuck my life.
If I was some paint, did it splatter?
Oh my god, she's really getting into it.
Would've stayed on my knees.
Oh, Taylor. He definitely took something from her, like spiritually and metaphorically.
Memories feel like weapons.
Clearly this is something that still bothers her to this day. This man's head on a spike. When?
Look on as I was, but Lord, you made me feel important, and then you tried to erase us.
You made me feel important, and then you tried to erase us. Fuck. Well, yeah, Taylor was in a very vulnerable position when she met him, just artistically, because she was kind of stuck in this teeny bopper category and she really wanted to be taken seriously as a songwriter. And John Mayer had this level of credibility and artistic respect that Taylor just didn't have at the time. Things have changed, obviously, but that was the dynamic they were working with when they dated.
Miss who I used to be, the
Oh my god, I miss who I used to be. Oh no, Taylor.
I regret you all the time.
I regret you all the time, like actively. Wow.
Fight with you in my sleep, the wound won't close.
He did a number on her. Fuck this man. I think the way he handled the falling out was so traumatic for her as well. Like, he went after her in the press. That's a little known fact.
Give me back my girl.
Oh,
You was mine first.
oh my god. Oh, no. Oh, fuck this man. I hate this stupid ass idiot.
And the God's honest truth is that the pain was hell.
Oh, see, this is the thing. She didn't really know what she was getting herself into here. That's where the power dynamic question comes in. Okay, as predicted, that was a hit put out on John Mayer, and he deserved it too. And actually, it's not even a hit put out on John Mayer. This, to me, is really kind of like, the reason why the John Mayer stuff hits so hard and always like feels so raw and vulnerable that you want to look away and you don't engage with it from a tea perspective, is because she's not really taking shots at him. It's just clear that she's like profoundly damaged by this feeling of being unimportant and being tossed aside and not having credibility and not being taken seriously, that has messed with her and given her a complex that we can literally chart and see throughout her career. This need to be liked. I mean, she mentions it in Mastermind. It started from when she was a kid, when she was bullied and she felt like nobody wanted to hang out with her. Then it was, she was the newcomer in this industry. She was a real disruptor. She was selling a lot of records, but nobody wanted to give her the respect and the seriousness that she deserved. And acclaim is something she really had to claw from the general public. It came pretty quickly with some industry professionals, but I have a feeling that like she sometimes still doesn't feel that she's given credit where credit is due, and that is true. A lot of people just write Taylor Swift off as a, author of catchy songs. Like, that's all she does. It's not that great, but it's like, if it's not that great and it's so easy to do, then why aren't there more Taylor Swifts? Like, why aren't there other people doing what she does and building the legacy that she's built? She is special. And I think that there's something accessible about Taylor Swift, something very commercial about her inherently because of like just her personality and this kind of songs and music she's interested in making that makes her sometimes seem as though she's not a serious artist to people who are perhaps a little bit more pretentious, which is why she seeks validation from people like Jake Gyllenhaal and John Mayer, these people who are serious artists, who are well respected for their craft, who are tastemakers and purveyors of high culture. That's something that like I think men are granted access to, that sphere of being a respected artist way faster than a woman is. And the fact that Taylor had to go basically like what? I mean, until Folklore to really get taken seriously as an adult artist is kind of crazy. She had some respect when it came to 1989, but even still it was written off as like pop music for teenagers. And that's just a dishonest representation of who Taylor Swift the artist is. So long story short, that is why the John Mayer wound cuts so deep, because he saw an opening, a way to like blow her down to ground zero and left her there to pick up the pieces herself. And clearly from this song, she's been rebuilt, but like there was a version of her that was destroyed in that she can't get back, and that's messed up. And we will avenge Taylor. I mean, she's been avenged already because like John Mayer has not made genuinely good music in many years. He had a very noted public spiral and breakdown. And I also think that part of the reason why this wound won't close is because he handled it so badly. Most of Taylor's exes have handled most of, not all. Calvin Harris didn't really do this, but most of them handled situations with like grace, or they just didn't comment on it at all, which is a smart thing to do because like if you feed the beast, as in the outrage of the public, they'll just keep going. Like Jake Gyllenhaal really was well within his rights to respond to what happened with Red Taylor's version, but smartly he was like, you know what? I actually didn't really conduct myself in a respectable way, or like I'm not proud of my behavior, therefore I'm gonna jump off the sinking ship and I'm not going to try and defend it and go down with this ship. I don't need to like further sully my reputation. I did enough already with how I acted in the first place. John Mayer was absolutely insistent that he was the wounded party when they broke up, and that her writing a song about him was like totally fucking outrageous and taking shots at him that he didn't deserve, and he said it wasn't a good song. Like he really kind of went for the jugular after Taylor came out with that song, and all she didn't speak on it, she didn't speak about him, she wrote this song, and it's an incredible song. Why the hell, as an artist, would you keep something like that to yourself when you know that it is like an experience that is universal, and you're known for mining and writing details about your personal life? I really do agree with the assessment that if you date Taylor Swift, you're signing up to become subject material. You know it's not a secret that she does this, and John Mayer does it himself. He even wrote his stupid clapback song called Paper Doll, and that's triggering too, because if you listen to the song Paper Doll, it literally is about her having no substance, being a paper doll, like just kind of wafting and waving and being 22 girls in one and not knowing who you are. And like that was again taking shots at the very deepest part of her, whereas I feel like her responses artistically to him have always just been coming from a place of there is this profound wound inside of me that I don't know how to heal. He is always coming at it from a space of who are you? Who cares what you think about me when I am so much like more respected and better than you? So that's my Dear John rant for the day over. Now we're getting into the final track, and this is the last track of Midnight's. It's called Dear Reader. And I heard a little snippet of this, and it really gives me a slower version of Secrets from a Girl Who's Seen It All by Lorde from Solar Power, just in terms of the like big sisterly vibe, like imparting advice to someone else. And let's listen.
If it feels like a trap,
Ooh,
you're already in one.
this has very You're on Your Own kid vibes. I bet Jack was the producer on this. Let me check. Yep, knew it.
Burn all the files, desert all your past lives.
Ooh, yeah, that's an impulse she has from time to time. Burn it all down, start over. The old Taylor is dead.
Never take advice from someone who's falling apart.
Ooh, and it sounds like you are the one that is falling apart, giving the advice right now.
Bend when you can,
Okay, bend when you can. I love that.
you have to.
Snap when you have to. Okay, I'm into it. This is like a poem, really. That was a really interesting conclusion to the Midnight's chapter. I actually love that. I think that Mastermind and Dear Reader are both great bookends in their own way. Dear Reader to me is so interesting though, because it's like playing with the idea of Taylor being an unreliable narrator, which is something that she gets critiqued for all the time, and also something that makes her a really interesting narrator, because we can't totally rely on her perspective, we can't take her words at face value, and she's literally laying it up like that in this song. She's saying, don't take advice from someone who's falling apart, and then she gives you advice, and it's actually good advice, but she's reminding you that she's like coming from a place of desolation, and that she is not the one to be looked at as a savior. This is like her The Path moment by Lorde. hard, but better and sounding more good. I think that this is a really interesting commentary on like, this is another side of the anti-hero dilemma, which is like, who am I to you? Do you support me? Can you support me in good faith? Why do you trust me? Why do you trust my perspective when you know that I'm coming at it from a place of being heartbroken? That's her whole thing, right? Is that she's always coming at her work and her art from a place that is skewed or biased or tinted in a way. And I just think that's such a compelling way to end Midnight. So I'm surprised. My negativity in the other video was very unwarranted because I would say there's at least 3 very good songs here. The Great War would probably go in my bottom tier. Bigger Than the Whole Sky would go mid. Paris would go bottom tier. High Infidelity is interesting, but it goes bottom tier. Glitch would be mid. Would've, Could've, Should've would be God. And Dear Reader would be like top of mid tier, bottom of God tier. So I'm pleased with that. I'm happy with that. Though I could have lived without a couple of these songs, but whatever. I'm grateful to the food that I received. And also, oh, I forgot to say my prayer. Okay, dear Lord, make sure that Scott Borchetta and Scooter Braun have an absolutely terrible day today. Amen. I hope everybody said amen with me. Let me know in the comments what you thought about all these songs. Which one is your favorite? If you had to redo the track list, what songs would you put on from the Midnight's 3 a.m. version, if any, and what would you take off of the standard edition and switch to bonus tracks? Make a little perfect track list for yourself in the comments below, and let's discuss and see what we can put together. All right, Swifties, I think that's it for my reactions this week. There might be a couple more next week, but whew, I need a break. All right, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I will leave everything linked down below. And you have to pass the vibe check to get into my Twitter, so go try pass the vibe check while I'm still taking people in. All right, I will see you soon. Goodbye, Swifties.